Well, welcome everyone to today's episode of TMI Advice You Didn't Want. Today, we're going to be talking about something that I know for myself tripped me up for literally years. But we're going to be talking about how we create our reality with our thoughts, but a lot of times we still have underlying thoughts that may be, in a lot of cases, overriding the new thoughts that we're trying to replace in there. And we have to actually get rid of those old thoughts, replace them with something new. So we're going to really talk about this in detail because I think that this is important because for myself, this kept me stuck in my manifestation in my 3D reality for years. And I think that this is one of the biggest reasons that people think that manifestation doesn't work. So, in case we haven't met, my name is Karin.
And I'm Ashley. And I think this is kind of like we've talked a lot about biblical stuff the last couple of podcasts. And this also ties back to what Jesus would say. Like, you
Mm.
can't do a clean sweep of a room. And like he was talking about evil spirits and then not do anything and they'll just come back. If you don't fill the room with something else, they'll just come back. And so that is really important. It's kind of like a two-step thing, a double-edged sword of you can't just learn new things without getting rid of the old, but you also can't just get rid of the old without replacing it with new things.
Mm.
So there's two different aspects there because a lot of people, and I think this is where me and you were at, we kept on filling our cup with new things and filling our cup with new things. And then it was years of new things. And we were struggling to incorporate them because we hadn't actually taken the time to get rid of those old things. And the old things weren't like awful. So it wasn't like this like huge like red light screaming like, no, you have to get rid of me first. And so that was what kind of tripped us up.
And I think too, the biggest thing that kept me stuck is I would have this new thought. Like, it's the whole concept of basically, having an affirmation in the morning of I am XYZ, like I'm putting in this XYZ thing. And you're doing that affirmation in the morning, but the rest of the day you're living as if you were still your old self. Nothing's going to change in that state, right? So that's basically what I found myself doing when I finally woke up to the fact that I was doing this, right? Like, I would have this whole dream of what I wanted to create. I would feel it. I would have it with me. Like I would feel it deeply. I was ready to go. But when it
Yeah.
came down to it and when 3D reality hit me and I would still react in the old way. I would still go, oh, I'm still struggling with this, right? Like, I'm still going to stay here, right? My energy would just revert back to my old energy. You can't keep doing that. Like, so for example, you can't meditate for an hour every day and the rest of your 23 hours during the day, you're freaking the fuck out, right? Like, you might feel really good during your meditation for that hour, but for the rest of the day, if you're freaking the fuck out, that's the reality we're creating, right? Because that's actually the overlying emotion that you keep having over and over again, right? So this, even when I heard this and when I understood this, it even took me a while to actually start implementing this too. Because this is a concept that I think, it's one of those things where you're like, oh, I know how to do that, but you don't actually know how to do it until you actually do it, right? Like, for me, I don't want to learn something from somebody if they haven't actually done it because I don't want to just hear philosophy from you. I want to actually see in action how this works by your example. That's the reason that I choose the mentors that I choose. I'm not going to choose somebody that hasn't already done what I want. I
Yeah.
used to do that, okay? I used to pick people. Looking back, I'm like, oof, I can't believe I did this, but I did. Like, I would choose people that I knew they had the knowledge, they knew what they were talking about, which isn't bad, but they hadn't actually done it themselves. Okay? There's a huge difference in energy when you haven't actually done it yourself. Because if I am your mentee, the most important thing that I am copying is your energy. I want to copy your energy. I don't want to copy anything else because your energy is what's going to bring me to where I want to go. Energy is the trump of everything. How you're thinking, how you're feeling creates your energy. So I want to put myself in the place of people that have created exactly what I want to create, not knowing how to do it, but never done it, because you're not going to have the same energetic presence. There's a
Hmm.
huge difference. And I think that this is really what tripped me up for years too, is like you gotta not only know it, but you have to do it too. And so when you're looking to manifest something and you're looking to create something completely different, you have to, as we said, you have to see the thing that you don't want first. You have to be able to name that. If you can't name it, then this step one, you have to go back to the basics and figure out what's the thing that you don't want. And then you have to name what you do want. When you can have a distinction between those two, now you know where you're going. Now you know your exact path, your exact direction. And nothing can really keep you from it when you are. And I know this to be true because I'm literally living this right now. Nobody can persuade me otherwise because I know that what I'm doing, like I can feel it in my bones, is right. Like, so for example, we just hired a tax strategist because we're literally in this place where we're like, we don't want to pay a lot of taxes to the government. Like, that's silly. Like, billionaires don't pay taxes. How do we figure that out? So I actually found somebody that she's worked with billionaires. She's worked at the IRS, so she knows what the hell she's talking about. She literally, like, she does all of these things herself, right? So I'm telling somebody that knows nothing about tax strategy, has always just lived a mediocre life. I'm telling somebody, hey, I just hired a tax strategist and she told me that I can get my taxes to zero. And this person laughed at me. They were like, that's not going to happen. That was literally their first response. That's not going to happen. And I was like, actually, she's done it. She's worked with billionaires who all of them do this. Like, hello, let's play the game that a billionaire is going to play instead of playing the game of a regular
Yeah.
person, right? So, but she laughed at me, and if I didn't know where I was going, I might have felt some degree of I'm no longer confident in what I'm doing, right?
Hmm.
But at a certain level, I've already said, no, I know what I want. I know what I don't want. And
Hmm.
so I know the trajectory that I'm going, regardless of what anybody else says around me. I don't really care. I'm not asking for people's opinions anymore. I think that's the biggest thing that you notice about yourself. You stop asking for opinions because you just don't give a shit. You're literally like, I know where I'm going. And if that person isn't in that particular direction, I'm not going to ask for their opinion because it doesn't matter. And so I could have in that moment like freaked out and gone, oh my God, I'm doing something wrong. But instead I went, she just doesn't know what she doesn't know. And that's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay that she wants to live the way and she wants to create the things that she wants to create. I want to create something completely different. So I'm going to do things that I know can work for me. Now, could this be the worst decision of my life? Absolutely, but there's still something to learn from it. Could I
Hmm.
fall fully on my face from hiring this particular person? Absolutely. Everything in my gut tells me that that's not true though. And so I run with that. I go, okay, the energetic presence that she showed up with whenever she sold me on her business, that's the energy I want to create. And I
Hmm.
had to know without a shadow of a doubt where I was going and what I wanted to get rid of in order to manifest someone like her into my 3D reality.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's similar with like my court situation right now. Like I know in my gut like that we are a family unit and that's like where we all thrive. And like my daughter will always say like I'm thriving here. And like I don't know where she got that word from, but that's how she talks. And like you can just tell like 'cause I work at their school, I have friends that interact with them like on not our week and that kind of thing. And you can tell they're thriving here. They have their days where they're bad days, and they're really not when they're at the other house. And in my gut, I just know that that's not the life that's meant for them. And so we have this huge trial here in November. for us to have primary custody. And I'm very confident that this is going to be the turning point of when we get to have that full custody and really have all the children like fully thrive, really thoroughly enjoy their childhood and not have this like kind of recovery each week, you know? And is there a chance that this November is not the turning point? There is. Like it could not happen this November, but in my gut, and I know I've said this to you before there was any even conflict between me and my partner's ex or the bio mom, however you want to call it, um, before there was any reason to think that that wasn't the best situation for the kids, I was like, I just feel like at some point she's not going to be around and we're going to have the kids full time. And it was just this weird feeling because it didn't make sense to me because I walked into the picture being like, oh, we'll all be friends and we'll all do all these things,
Mm-hmm.
which is very far from what happened. But I had this gut feeling from day one that we would not have her in our life for some reason. And my partner thought that they were amicable at the time, so he didn't see anything of like big red flags of like, oh yeah, that's gonna happen. And so this gut feeling has been with me for 6 years. And I'm pretty confident that this November, because we have a lot of evidence and a lot of things stacked up, is going to be the changing point. But even if it's not, like I know it's going to happen at some point because the kids want to thrive and their energy is aligning to that, you know?
Yeah.
Like they're starting to ask for that. They're starting to see that and know the difference of just like the energy, not just like the superficial stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like it's so important whether you're an adult or a child to know where you're going. And in that case, like the kids know, okay, like on some level, they know I want this, I don't want this, right? Like I think it's really important as parents, even though I do not have children, disclaimer, 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 I don't have kids. However, this is what I would do if I had kids, is to teach them this concept. Know what it is that you don't want
Yeah.
and also name what it is that you do want, because
Mhm.
then you have a clear path forward. And this comes with your thoughts. This is really important. I'm not just talking about actions here, because a
Yeah.
lot of us, myself included in the past, not anymore, a lot of us will focus on what are the things that I do want to do with 3D reality.
Mhm.
Not what are the thoughts that are stuck in there that I keep replaying over and over again.
Yeah.
Those are the things to clean up. Okay. That tripped me up so hard, so hard. And I didn't even understand whenever people will be like, oh, you're taking so much action, but things aren't moving forward. Like, you got to look at that. Like, I didn't get it because I was kind of like, well, yeah, because that's what you do. You take action, you move forward. Like, if you don't take action, nothing's going to change. And that's true. But you can be where I was, where you just take all this massive action and you're still not moving forward because energetically I was stuck.
Yeah.
Okay. This is really important for somebody that's like me. If you're listening and you're like me and you're like, I'm an action taker. I do all the things that everyone tells me to do that are my mentors. I'm doing the things, but things are still not changing. There is
Mhm.
an energetic mismatch with your thoughts and your feelings. That is it. It is not something special. There is not some magic pill that you need to start taking. There's not some magic ritual you need to start doing. There's not some magic manifestation tradition thing you got to do. You don't have to write pentagons around yourself. None of that stuff matters. What matters is, what is my thought? What is my feeling? Is it an energetic match to what I want to create? If the answer is no, there's a lot to look at. For me, I wanted to create this abundance where I did not have to work at the hospital. I wanted that for so long. And I kept hitting a ceiling. And I could not figure out what that ceiling was until I finally woke up one day and said, oh my God, there's fear in my body that what if I have to go back to my job when I start creating these big
Hmm.
things in my business. I had that fear in my body. And I would keep going back to it over and over and over again. And that is what kept me stuck. And if we're going to go back to Jesus, I think this is exactly what Jesus was talking about too. When he would heal people, like go and sin no more means stop thinking about the things that got you here.
Yeah.
Stop thinking about the things that made you a leper or whatever it is that he was healing, right? Like,
Yeah.
stop thinking those things and feeling that way.
Yeah.
When we can actually dissect what we're actually thinking, this is so friggin' important, and it's a process. It can take time to really dig this out. And it can also, once you dig it out, it can take time to actually rewire it too. It doesn't have to, but it can, just depending on what I noticed is when I was in certain situations, like if I went to the hospital, those thoughts would come up more. And I had to really get present with myself. This isn't something that just happened overnight for me. Ashley knows, like, you've watched my whole process. I am a completely different person than I was when you first met me, right? Because I literally went, okay, what am I doing? And most people won't do this. Most people will go, oh, things aren't working. This must just not be for me. No, no,
Yeah.
no, no. If you had that burning desire to create something, it is for you. You
Yeah.
just have to get rid of those thoughts and feelings that are keeping you stuck in the past.
Hmm. Well, and that's where it really comes back to like that releasing those cycles. Like you have to find a way to break out of the old habits and then replace them. Because, like you talked about, if you're still repeating those habits, whether they're awful or just slightly holding you back,
Mm-hmm.
those new habits have no root to take up. And then if you clean all those old habits and then you don't replace them with anything, you're going to still fall back into that old habit pattern because that's all you ever knew.
Mm-hmm.
So it is so vital for you to do both, to get rid of the old so that isn't your fallback, but replace it with something new. So you're actually doing something different and not going to fall back on that actual thing. So I think that that is one of the biggest things in our life is we justify those habit patterns. We
Yeah,
say, well, this is how I was raised.
this is how I
This is
am.
just who I am. This is what my family did. I have childhood trauma, so these triggers are going to be with me forever. I was hit by a drunk driver, so I'm always going to have PTSD walking across the street. And it's like your brain, like neuroscience has proven your brain is plastic. Like it's going to change. And it's not like hardwired. Like you have the flexibility to change with neuroplasticity. Like it's not something that is like even PTSD, like or Dr. Caroline Leaf, who writes a book about neuroplasticity, she talks about how this person was born with half a brain
Mm-hmm.
and he was able to wire his brain to function as a full brain. Like if that's not an example enough that your brain can do all the things and move past your PTSD, move past your childhood trauma, I don't know what is. And like this is the piece of the advice that you probably don't want to hear, or the uncomfortable truth, however you want to call it, is that you actually have to want it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big deciding factor in all of this is if you want it, you'll find a way.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, you'll make excuses and justifications that this is just who I am, this is just how it is, this is just what it is right now, whatever it is.
Yeah. And let it be that process too. Like, be okay with however short amount of time or however long amount of time it takes to, because this can just be a process, and that's okay. So, but at the end of the day, like, I look at this whole concept with my entire life, and I'm like, ooh, a lot of these thought patterns were ingrained as a child. So for
Yeah.
example, the whole concept of, oh my God, what if I have to go back to my job after I've created this business? What if I fall flat on my face, right? Like, that is actually, I can see my parents doing that. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
my parents actually, when I told my dad, hey, I'm quitting my job, he freaked out. He was
Mhm.
like, oh my God, that fear has been passed down to me. So they grew up, my parents are boomers. They grew up in the Great Depression era. Okay. Both of my parents have literally had absolutely nothing. My dad lost both of his parents, his mom when he was 5, his dad when he was a teenager. He was basically raised by his brother. They had nothing. He tells stories of how he would go to school and the teachers would bring him to the bathroom to help clean him because
Oh,
he was
wow.
gross, dirty, disgusting. He would have people give him shoes all the time because he had nothing, okay? He was literally the view of poor. Then
Mhm.
you look at my mom. My mom, she immigrated from Germany when she was a child. When they came over here, they lived off of, I can't remember the exact poundage of potatoes, but it was only potatoes that they lived off of for a full year because they had nothing. They
Mhm.
had no money. They had zero. They were starting from scratch coming over here. If that's not poor on both of my parents' side, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
That information was handed to me genetically. Now,
Mhm.
I could sit here and go, oh, poor me. I need to make sure that I take care of myself so stuff like that never happens. Or I could see that that's a part of my generational trauma and I could decide to choose a new thought around it, which is exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Okay. So this doesn't have to happen overnight, but when you do this, you break all of the generational traumas. I literally see my parents now. I see how my parents have actually turned it around because now they are millionaires. Okay. They've made a lot of money in their life, right? They don't ask for anything. They don't need anything. They literally are set for the rest of their life. They don't need it, right? They had to also rewire this. However, I still see the fear in them which keeps them capped at the certain level that they are currently at.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can find yourself at this cap at any level. You could be making $10 an hour or you could be making $5,000 an hour and you could still find yourself with this cap.
Yeah.
It's always about going back. And I do truly believe that the truly successful people that continue to have success after success after success look at this exact thought pattern and go, wait a minute. I'm going back to the old habit. I need to stop that. Stop it. And this is the new thought. This is the new habit. This is the
Mhm.
new feeling I want to continue to feel. Right? So you can do this with any aspect of your life too. Whatever you want to manifest, whether it's money, whether it's more time, whether it's more health, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's the exact same process. You have to find the things that maybe you either inherited, were ingrained into you, you had experiences that made you think and feel certain ways. We have to find those and we have to dig them out if we want to change our current 3D reality because our 3D reality is only as good as we are. I'm going to say that
Yeah.
again. Our 3D reality is only as good as we are because it is a reflection of how we're thinking and how we're feeling.
Yeah. And we put that glass ceiling on ourselves, whether it's like happiness, looks, like weight loss or whatever, how much money we make. I actually remember a story that stuck with me pretty solid in network marketing in the very beginning. And this was a guy, and they lived in Florida, and his wife had done a lot in network marketing and achieved a lot, but she had hit this plateau. And so the husband went out and bought $1 million house. And this was like a big deal like 15 years ago. And now I guess with my current situation, every house is $1 million with where I live.
Mm-hmm.
And so he bought this $1 million house and she's like, well, how are we paying for this? Like we don't have the money to pay for this. He's like, yeah, you're gonna figure it out. And sure enough, she got working and she figured it out and she tripled her income in 18 months because she had to figure it out. She had to find a way to break through that glass ceiling. And so often we are comfortable with what we don't want. And so it makes it so that we don't move forward. Like there's so many things in my life that I'm like, I know this isn't like my highest good, but right now it's comfortable. And so I don't put a lot of effort into it. And I at least have the awareness around that.
Yeah.
But that is what we do so frequently.
Hmm.
And so it's really about figuring out what we want, like you said, how we're going to change it, and eliminating those things that are keeping us stuck in those cycles.
Yeah. And I mean, there are times of rest too.
Yeah.
There allow those in our lives too. But if we find ourselves continually going back to that time of rest, oh, I just need to rest. Oh, I'm just whatever. There's a pattern, there's a habit there that could be rewired. Okay. Take your time. Like whenever I left my business partners, was it last year? Geez, yeah, it was last year. Whenever I left them, I knew I wasn't going to jump into anything right away because I didn't know. For one thing, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I knew I knew what I wanted to create. I never lost that. Through my whole entrepreneur journey, I knew exactly what I've wanted to create from pretty much day one, if I'm being honest with you. So I knew what I wanted to create, but I didn't know how I wanted to create it. And so I allowed myself, I think it was 3 or 4 months, I didn't do much of anything. And
Hmm.
I loved that because it was my time to reset, my time to kind of like look around and see, like, how do I want to create this? Because for one thing, I knew I didn't want to work my face off. That was one of the things that I didn't love about that business I was in. I felt like I was going to always have to be working my face off just by the way that we were operating, right? I'm like, I said this to my husband this morning. I didn't like the idea that my entire year was going to be planned out for the next foreseeable future. Like all my years were going to be completely planned out. I'm like, I'm not sure I want to create that. Like that, I want to be able to get up and go at the drop of a hat and say, hey, I want to travel here, I want to do that. And if I'm constantly traveling for my business, then I can't always do that, right? So I've always known I wanted to just travel at the drop of a hat. I've always known that I wanted to create possibility of time freedom. Like that's really the thing that I've always wanted. And so I kind of sat down with myself during that 3 to 4 months time period and I said, what can I do that I can make a lot of money, that I can take with me anywhere, that eventually I can take that money and I can start investing it? Because really, to me, investment is that's passive income. That's the magic right there. I've known from day one of being an entrepreneur that I want to wake up one day and go, what do I actually want to do because I want to do it, not because I have to do it for money in
Yeah.
order to live, right?
Yeah.
That is what I've always wanted to create. And so, looking at the businesses that I've done in the past, I'm like, I wasn't really creating that. I wasn't really doing that. Like network marketing, that is definitely not the case. You work your fucking ass off in there. Um, Online marketing, kind of the same. Like you're kind of doing the hustle. Like there's a lot of hustle that happens with a lot of things. And there's
Hmm.
nothing wrong with that. But I always knew like there's got to be a better way because I don't want to always be in this hustle state. That
Yeah.
just doesn't seem like what I want to create. And so I've known for a long time I wanted to do real estate, but I didn't know until recently that I wanted to start doing business acquisitions. This is an interesting place I find myself in. But I've always known I wanted to do real estate on some level because I can see if I hand that property over to a property management company, that is passive income for me.
Hmm.
Hello, like that's what I've wanted to create. Matthew and I have talked about that for at least the past 5 years, maybe longer. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now it's finally a reality for us that we're literally going, oh my God, we're stepping into a realm of our life where we're literally about to do that.
Yeah.
That is the magic place that I wanted to create. And taking that 3 to 4 months off time allowed me the time to reset, regroup, look at the things that could make me some good money so that I could start doing the investment strategies that I wanted to do. And
For
that's
sure.
what landed me on doing TikTok Shop. Because I'm like, hello, like that's a really great way for me to make an incredible amount of money. It's a really great thing. I already know how TikTok works. I already understand that. There was still a learning curve with it. Trust me, there's a learning curve whenever you do anything new on social media.
Yeah.
But once I figured out that learning curve, I'm like, okay, I'm seeing a lot of momentum happening,
Yeah.
right? And so that 3 to 4 month reset time gave me the opportunity to stop and ask myself, what do I want to create? I already know what I don't want. I don't want to do what I have been doing. That's not, and I named all the things in that 3 to 4 month period. I know I don't want to do those things because then I'm trading one job at the hospital for another job in my business. I don't want to do that. I'm not interested in that. Never have been, never will be. So, and that's what bothered me about network marketing all those years ago, where I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to always fucking do this. This is scary. Like, I don't want to do that. That's not freedom. That, because it was always the time freedom for me. But once I sat down after that 3 month period of actually doing nothing, allowing myself to do nothing, I was able to jump into doing TikTok Shop and go full force. And I really haven't felt burnout ever since I've started. A lot of people will say, oh my God, I started feeling burnout like a year in. I'm a year in now. I'm feeling good about it. I feel really great about it, actually. And I've actually revved up doing more and more. I think that reset time allows you to figure out what you want, how you want to do it, gives you a little bit of a time frame for yourself, and then you can go without feeling the burnout of, oh my God, when is this going to happen, or oh my God, I'm doing all this work, or I'm so exhausted, right? Like it's a totally different place that I find myself in, and it's because I allowed myself that time to rest and reset.
Yeah. And you have the awareness that you get to control your life and you're not justifying anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't want to justify anything to myself ever.
Hmm.
I've literally gotten to the point where I will say things out loud or to myself. I'll find myself maybe in a thought process where I'm thinking about, oh, but this is how things are. And then I've started to question those and go, but are they?
Yeah.
Like even silly things, like even silly thing. I can't even think I did it this morning though. I don't remember what I was thinking about, but I was like, oh, but is that true? Every time you do that, you're opening up a new possibility for yourself.
Hmm.
So whenever you find yourself in this rampage in your brain where you're like, oh, but this is how things should be done. Is it?
Hmm.
Is it? And when you do that, you're now creating a new set of circuit in your brain that's going, your brain, when you ask that question, but is it? Your brain starts to search for the answer. And a
Yeah.
lot of times when we search for the answer, it shows up in our 3D reality, sometimes that very day, because it's like, whoa, maybe it isn't the way things are always done. That's interesting.
Hmm.
Huh. And this is what's been happening for me a lot recently, where I will have the thought, this rampage in my brain of this is how things are, though. And then it's like, but is it? And then I start to see it in my 3D reality reflected in a different way. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting and new. What a
Hmm.
cool experience I've just created for myself just by asking the question, is it always true? Is that
Yeah.
how it always has to be?
Hmm. Yeah. And that's that key part of that curiosity and knowing that there's flexibility in everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And being willing to play the game with it too.
Hmm.
Being willing to be open to um, a new idea. And going back to what we started with, be open to the new idea. And then also, if you're like, wait, that new idea is more in alignment with what I want to create in my life, how do I release the old thoughts that are actually trying to come in and persuade me otherwise and tell me something different? So, yeah, it's a whole process, but let it be fun. Like I will tell you, I think I've had more fun experimenting with this than I ever have before because I can now actually be more curious than I ever have been. And I always have been a very curious individual.
Yeah.
So it would always like we have like he's your mentor now, but he was my mentor back in the day. He had told me at one point like you just need to be more curious. And that made me scratch my head. Like, what do you mean be more curious? I'm a really fucking curious person. I wouldn't be where I am right now if I wasn't curious. But I then started to look at that whenever I heard that from him, like, okay, I need to be more curious. Well, what does that mean? What does that look like? And so now I can see how I was very fixed in a certain way back then when he met me. Whereas now there's like a whole lot more opportunity. Like anytime I say something that I'm like, oh, this is the way the government is. Oh, this is the way, I don't know. This is the way we should do things. I always ask the question afterwards, is it? I don't know. Let's discover and find out if that really is what I want to create. Is that in alignment with where I want to go? If the answer is yes, then keep going. If the answer is no, then it's time to rewire and time to notice the things that you don't want anymore. So, yeah. So with that, I think we can call this episode of TMI Advice You Didn't Want a wrap for today. So if you're listening on your favorite podcast host, go ahead, give us a 5-star. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are. And if you're listening on YouTube, go ahead, give us a like, give us a subscribe. Let us know in the let us know in the comments what your thoughts are as well. So with that, we're going to call TMI Advice You Didn't Want a wrap for today. Thanks so much for watching. Click on one of the videos below to continue hanging out with us, and don't forget to subscribe.